Right now, you're probably sitting somewhere warm, and somewhere in your life there's a person, or the idea of a person, you'd call yours. Maybe there's a ring in a drawer. Maybe there's a name saved in your phone with a little heart next to it. Maybe there's just the quiet assumption that one day, you'll stand in front of people you love and promise yourself to one person, on purpose, out loud. That feels ancient, doesn't it? Like it's just built into being human. But there was a time, a very long time, when nobody on earth had ever done that. No vows. No word for husband. No idea that two people could belong to each other on purpose. So when did we start? When did a wandering, hungry animal look at another and decide, you, only you, for good? Here's why this strange little question matters more than it sounds. Because that decision is still running inside you. Every time you feel jealousy flare up over someone, that's ancient wiring, older than farming, older than fire-cooked meals. Every time you introduce someone as my partner and feel that quiet pride of belonging, you're performing a ritual your ancestors invented before they invented the wheel. Marriage isn't natural, exactly. It's one of the oldest inventions we have, and we built it to solve problems that were killing us. So we're going to walk through how it happened in 4 stages. First, the problem of the wandering father. Second, the invention of the pair bond. Third, the moment marriage became about property, not love. And fourth, the strangest turn of all, the day love got invited back in. And by the end, I'll show you why the version of marriage you think is traditional is actually one of the newest things in this whole story. So, the wandering father. Picture our earliest ancestors, millions of years back, before anything you'd call a relationship. Life was loud, brief, and largely indifferent. A male mated, and then he left. He had no reason to stay. His job, biologically, was done. And here's the brutal math of it. A human baby is born absurdly, dangerously helpless. A baby deer walks within an hour. A human infant can't hold up its own head for months, can't feed itself for years. That helplessness is the whole problem. A mother alone, carrying a screaming infant, trying to find enough food for 2 bodies while predators circle, that's a losing game. Babies died. A lot of them. The obvious fix would be just have the father help. But there was no father, not in any real sense. There was just a male who'd moved on. Evolution had to invent a reason for him to stay. And the reason it landed on was the pair bond. This is stage 2, and it's the quiet miracle at the center of the whole story. Somewhere in our deep past, a chemical shift happened in the brain, the same one you feel now. That drunk, obsessive, can't stop thinking about them feeling. That's not poetry. That's a cocktail of dopamine and a hormone called oxytocin, and it evolved for one cold, practical purpose: to glue 2 people together long enough to keep a fragile baby alive. The best guess we have is that this bonding chemistry took hold hundreds of thousands of years ago, maybe more, long before we looked fully modern. It didn't make people faithful forever. It made them stay a few years, often just long enough to get a child past the deadliest stretch. And you still feel the echo of that timer. That's part of why so many relationships hit a strange wobble around the 3 or 4 year mark. Your body may be running software written for a world you'll never see. You still do a version of this every time you fall hard and fast for someone and can't explain why. That's not weakness. That's a 200,000-year-old survival tool firing in your skull. But a feeling isn't a marriage. Feelings fade, and animals don't hold ceremonies. So what turned a chemical bond into an actual institution? A thing with rules, witnesses, and consequences? And the pillar that actually created marriage as we know it? It's not love. It's not even the babies. It's still ahead. Stage 3. This is where it gets cold. For most of human history, once we settled down and started farming, roughly 10 to 12,000 years ago, something new appeared that we'd never really had before. Stuff. Land. Grain stored in pits. Animals in a pen. Suddenly a family could own things, and those things could be passed down. And the second you have inheritance, you have a terrifying new question. Who exactly are my children? For a man leaving his land and his herd to his sons, this wasn't sentimental. It was everything. He needed to know, with certainty, that the children in his house carried his blood and not some other man's. And that anxiety, that need for certainty about paternity, is the real engine that built marriage as an institution. So marriage became a contract. A public, binding, enforceable claim over a woman's reproduction. Think about what that actually meant. A wedding wasn't two hearts joining. It was two families negotiating, often over a bride price or a dowry, transferring a woman like a valuable asset from her father's household to her husband's. The whole community had to witness it, precisely so that everyone knew whose children were whose, and whose land would pass to whom. This is why, for thousands of years and across most of the planet, nobody expected you to marry someone you loved. You married the family your parents chose to secure a field, an alliance, a debt. Love was considered a bad reason to marry, dangerous, unstable, beside the point. And honestly, you still feel the ghost of this too. Every time you meet someone new and some quiet part of your brain sizes up their job, their family, their stability before you've even decided if you like them. That's the ancient property contract instinct, still doing inventory. Stage 4 is the plot twist, and it's shockingly recent. For almost all of human existence, love and marriage were kept in separate rooms. You might feel passion, sure, but you felt it for a secret, for a poem, for someone you'd never be allowed to have. Marriage was work. Then, only a few hundred years ago, something cracked open. As economies changed and young people started earning their own money, leaving the farm, moving to cities, they stopped needing their parents to hand them a spouse along with a plot of land. For the first time, ordinary people could choose. And when they got to choose, they chose that old chemical feeling, the pair bond high, as the reason to marry. The radical idea that you should marry the person you're in love with, and only them, and stay because of that love, that's not ancient tradition. That's practically brand new. Your great-great-grandparents might have found it reckless. The traditional marriage so many people picture, one man, one woman, together for love, is one of the youngest experiments in this entire 200,000-year story. We're still running it. We don't fully know if it works. Which brings us all the way back to you, in your warm room, with that name and its little heart in your phone. Think about what's stacked underneath that simple feeling. A helpless baby that needed two people to survive. A chemical bond invented to keep a father from wandering off. A brutal contract built around grain and land and the terror of not knowing your own children. And then, at the very last minute, love, sneaking back in the door and quietly taking over the whole thing. When you promise yourself to one person, you're not doing something natural and eternal. You're doing something your species clawed together over an unimaginable stretch of time, out of hunger and fear and, eventually, out of hope. It's fragile. It's strange. It's one of the boldest things we've ever tried. And you get to just feel it, without any of the weight of how hard it was to invent. So I'm curious, and this one's easy to answer. Do you think you'd have married for love? Or would you have married the field, the herd, the alliance your parents picked? Tell me in the comments. I read them. And if this made you look at your own relationship, or the one you're hoping for, a little differently tonight, stick around. The whole channel is this, the weird, buried origins of things you thought were just human nature. Because almost nothing about you is an accident. It's all invention. And every one of these stories is stranger than the last.